Hello everybody, welcome back to a beginner's guide to. This time we are looking at Raging Bolt / Teal Mask Ogerpon, or as I've seen it called, Teal Bolt, which I quite like the name of. It's very cool, very nice. This is a very simple beat stick deck, and I think it's a very fun deck coming into the next format, and a lot of people agree. The results online are speaking for themselves. The deck is doing incredibly well. So, what is the secret sauce behind this deck? Everything is built around Raging Bolt. It is a 240 basic dragon type Pokemon, so no weakness, nobody hits it very easily. My god, it's a monster. It has the attack Burst Roar for 1 colorless, discard your hand, draw 6 cards, which I've never seen anybody use. I've had to use it once. It's not great. Bellowing Thunder is our main attack, 70x damage, 1 lightning, 1 fighting. You may discard any amount of basic energy from your Pokemon. This attack does 70 damage for each card you discarded in this way. So, at most, you're probably looking at doing 210 damage, right? You've got your manual attached, you've got a sword, that's 2 Raging Bolts, that's 3, that's 210, right? Right? Enter Teal Mask Ogerpon EX, a Grass-type 210 Terra Pokemon. With the ability Teal Dance, once during your turn you may attach a basic Grass energy from your hand to this Pokemon. If you attached energy to a Pokemon in this way, draw a card. Let's just quickly look at the counts. So we've got 4 Raging Bolts, 3 Teal Mask Ogerpon. Remember with the 210 number from earlier, if you can get 3 Teal Mask Ogerpon down, that is 3 more energy. So you are potentially doing 420 damage in a single turn. On turn 1. Going second. What the hell is this deck? It is so good. What have we got to get us there? Well, we're going to get rid of some energy. So, of course, we've got Radiant Greninja with the ability Concealed Cards. You must discard an energy card from your hand in order to use this ability. Once during your turn, you may draw 2 cards. If your start's looking a bit shaky, we've got Squawkabilly with the ability Squawk and Seize. Once during your turn, you may discard your hand and draw 6 cards. You can't use more than 1 Squawk and Seize ability during your turn. And I will always go to bat for this attack. Motivate for 1 colorless, 20 damage. Attach up to 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. So if your start is weird enough where you've managed to get energy into the discard, but no Sada, you can always use Motivate. It tickles the opponent, it maybe fixes some numbers, and still gets you a powered up Raging Bolt for next turn. I think it's a genuinely underrated attack that not many people like to talk about. And finally, a card that can definitely be replaced with a couple of other cards, although we'll talk about that later. It is the Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon EX 210 Terra type, fighting type. Ability Cornerstone Stance, prevent all damage from your attacks done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon that have an ability, which cancels out a lot of Pokemon in the current format, as well as the attack Demolish, which is only really powered up manually, 140 damage, fighting 2 colorless. This attack's damage isn't affected by weakness or resistance, or by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon, so it is also a shred attack. It's not a bad card at all. So you've got a few cards there, but they're very simple in what they do. It is an incredibly simple game plan, and I think we need more decks in the format that are just simple. Like, you know what you're doing with them all times. Sometimes that's all you want in a deck as well. Like, loads of people will go to bat for various complicated decks. Oh, I need these 5 cards to pull off this combo for a KO, and I'm like, yeah, but like I could just play Raging Bolt. And take a knockout on anything in turn 1. It's ridiculous. Anyway, what have we got in terms of search? We run 4 Nest Ball because we don't have a poffinable Pokemon, really. Search your deck for a basic Pokemon, put it onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. Ultra Ball, you can use this card only if you discard 2 other cards from your hand. Search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. And I will take this moment real quick. This list is actually an aggregate of there was a tournament that happened. I will try and find it and put it in the comments or edit it in. There was 6 Raging Bolts, I think, in the top 16, I think it was, or something like that. I basically took all of those lists, averaged them all out, all the counts, and got a perfect 61 card deck. So I had to make a cut. But it has led to some weird numbers. Like, a lot of them ran 4 Trek and Choose, a couple ran 2. Ultra Ball was the big one. One deck ran 4, one deck ran 2, the rest ran 0. So the average number ended up being 1 Ultra Ball, which I think may end up being changed to something more useful, but we'll figure that out. It's just a bit silly to have the 1 Ultra Ball, I think. 1 Hisuian Heavy Ball. Look at the face down prize cards, reveal a basic Pokemon you find there, put it into your hand, and replace it with the Heavy Ball. If you don't do that, you can just discard the Heavy Ball. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but you understand how it works. Energy, how are we finding it? We've got 4 Earthen Vessel. You can only use this card if you discard another card from your hand. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. We have Energy Retrieval. Put 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your hand. And Super Rod. Shuffle up to 3 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. As well as that, we have 3 switch cards. Switch your active basic Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon if you do heal 30 damage from the Pokemon you move to your bench. A very fun card to use a 2 of, because if something's been damaged at the top that, you know, your opponent could, Dragapult for example, could boss back onto the bench, if that makes sense, and then hit with a 6 damage counters for a knockout, you can fix the maths for yourself where you switch card your active back onto the bench and heal 30 from 2 different Pokemon. It's a good little combination to have. Arguably, maybe it's worth having 4 switch cards because of things like that. 2 Track and Choose. Look at the top card of your deck. You may put that card into your hand if you don't discard that card and draw another. Very good for what this deck is. It is a turbo deck. 1 Lost Vacuum. You can use this card only if you put another card from your hand into the Lost Zone. Choose a Pokemon tool attached to any Pokemon or any stadium in play and put it into the Lost Zone. And 4 of Pokegear 3.0. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. You may reveal a support card you find there and put it into your hand. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. As always, Sada is quite important with this deck, but I will say I do enjoy this deck for the fact that you can definitely take turns off from using Sada because of Teal, Mask, Ogerpon and stuff like that. Like, you are actually able to use other supporters in this deck, which honestly I feel like this deck struggles with sometimes. Our 8th spec of choice is Prime Catcher, switching one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. If you do, switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Such a good card. Ridiculously strong. 1 Stadium, or 2 of 1 Stadium, is Pokestop. Once during each player's turn, that player may discard 3 cards from the top of their deck. If the player discards any item cards in this way, they put those item cards into their hand. Again, just a very good tool for turbo-based decks. Our tools are 2 Bravery Charms. The basic Pokemon this card is attached to gets 50 plus HP. Very good, very powerful. Of course, our supporters are a 4 of Professor Sada's Vitality. Choose up to 2 of your ancient Pokemon and attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to each of them. If you attached any energy in this way, draw 3 cards. 2 Boss's Orders, switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. And 2 Iono. Each player shuffles their hand and puts it to the bottom of their deck. If either player puts any cards on the bottom of their deck in this way, each player draws a card for each of their remaining prize cards. And finally, at energy counts, we have a 3 of for the fighting, a 6 of for the grass, and a 3 of for the lightning. The game plan for this deck is very simple. You are just trying your best to power up Raging Bolt. Going second is, I think, usually preferred. You want to go for a manual attach on Raging Bolt plus a Sada attachment on Raging Bolt. Power up the Ogerpons as best you can with the Teal Dance and just be ready to cycle those energies with energy retrieval and stuff like that. It's such a good deck. I think it's really fun, and I think it's going to be a very, very big deck in the meta. As for replacements, I don't know too much about replacing Prime Catchers, and, you know, there's no other ace spec that really fits this deck well, in my opinion. The big change people talk about is Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon EX. It is a 2-prizer with a brilliant ability, but like maybe the attack's a little bit too slow. Common conversation is replacing it with Sandy Shocks with the Magnetic Burst attack, 20 plus damage. If you have 3 or more energy cards in play, this attack does 70 more damage. This attack's damage isn't affected by weakness, which kind of doesn't make it a good attacker into Snorlax. The other consideration is Slitherwing with the Burning Turbulence attack, 120 damage for 2 fighting. This Pokemon also does 90 damage to itself. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned. There is potentially other cards coming up soon. Where we are currently, I think what we've got going on here works absolutely fine. Genuinely, I think the Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon is probably fine in this deck. The way it counters Charizard, for example, and the way it's a just instant knockout on a Snorlax, even caped, is very important, I think. But your mileage may vary. Maybe the single prizer is more important. I don't know. But hey, that will do it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If there's anything you would like to know about this deck, leave me a comment and I will try to reply to it ASAP. If you want a more in-depth video, I will try my best to do one of those as well. I don't generally do matchups in these videos, so maybe that's something I should start covering a bit more. Let me know. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, all my social media links are in the description below, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.